Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. It's me and Kieran, as always, and I'm joined by Ramesh Subasinghe. How are you, Ramesh?
Very good, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. We're going to get straight into it, really, and cover, as we've been doing, the topics of West Indies cricket at the minute. So, how do you see it as head coach of the academy? How is the out? What do you see as the outlook of West Indies cricket at the minute?
Uh, it's a tough question to start the batting innings with, but as you know, like you've seen what's going on at the moment. So, from my end, my job is to make the young academy players
Yeah,
help them to grow with the necessary skills to be successful in international cricket. So I'm focused on that.
yeah,
And while look, it's not that I don't know what's going on. Everyone can see that,
yeah,
but from our end, from a West Indies academy point of view, I could assure anyone who's listening that we are doing all what we can
yeah,
with our players and with our support staff to get these players ready to be successful. And as you know, it's not going to happen overnight.
no, no,
So if you look at a business analogy of cost and benefit, there's a cost involved in player development, that is time.
yeah.
So it will take time, but we are definitely working towards getting our players ready as a system,
Yes,
not just in the academy.
yeah,
So we are at the moment trying to put all the building blocks in place, and an aligned system,
yeah,
that how we can throughout West Indies we can develop our players to be ready to be successful at the
yeah,
top level.
yeah.
So there's a little bit of time needed for sure.
And with you saying their time, do you feel like you have enough time with the players at this moment in time from a coaching perspective?
So this is the very first time the cohort we have as the academy. It is the very first time, I think, in West Indies history that we have a full-time academy.
Right.
I think maybe Kieran, you were part of the old HPC system where
Yeah.
I think it's off seasons type of stuff, and then
Yeah.
you go away for your respective franchises or the territories. But this is the first time that West Indies cricket has made that strategic decision that to base the West Indies Academy full time in Antigua.
Right.
So we've learned a lot this year, how that we can build on it, because
Yes.
it was very first time. I think I've got about 8 nationalities or 9 nationalities in the academy at the moment. So to get them living in Antigua, settling into Antigua,
Yeah.
all that type of stuff, we've learned this year, like this in our first year. So we have a
Yeah.
very good idea how we can build a year 2, year 3, and going forward.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yes, we do have them full time now,
Yeah.
and it does show that we are into 11 months in that program.
Right.
So, so, uh, but it does show that we can accelerate actually their development being in a full-time program.
Of course.
I think it does help. It does help.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. I know you'll be desperate to get in, Kai.
Well, it's not often I get to show off my Sinhalese, so Ramesh, come there, yeah?
Holding in now.
Api patang mother.
Yes, well, let's do it.
Adi, adi. Okay, so let's
I hope you haven't
let's
flagged me off then. Haven't you said anything bad about me?
no, 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 no. We'll get into I guess the crux of some of the matters here, Ramesh. Now, obviously, there would have been probably a lot of comments recently about West Indies cricket and the structure. Obviously, you being the head of the academy, lots of people around the Caribbean maybe questioning your credentials or your ability to take West Indies cricket forward. I see you have a little bit of a smirk. What do you say to this? Obviously, I mean, me and you would have had lots of conversations separately outside of this, but just for a wider listening public, what's your take on this?
Uh, I mean, I think you got to ask for Cricket West Indies. I guess if you talking about my credentials to take the position, so I can tell you, like from as we talked about when we started the conversation, that I'm Sri Lankan, former first class player there, and then now permanently living in New Zealand, and I've been working in the New Zealand cricket system for the last 11 years. And before taking over the West Indies Academy role, I was the head of the New Zealand development program. So now, like the current depth New Zealand cricket is showing with the players, the young players that are coming through, has all gone through the New Zealand development program. So I guess I don't know. I probably have like 15 plus years of coaching, and I've coached in first class cricket with Otago cricket, and then I've looked. I was head of their talent development, so I guess I don't know. I just don't want to say what my credentials to prove a point, but I can tell you that I do have the experience to do a good job that's going to ultimately benefit West Indies cricket.
Now, as I said, me and you have quite a bit of conversation. I think probably, I'm not sure, but I'll throw a bold statement out there and say I'm probably the most senior regional cricketer that speaks to you in depth in terms of what's happening with the academy and West Indies cricket. From your experience in New Zealand, obviously being sort of the same size talent pool as, let's say, West Indies, what are they doing structurally that you think the West Indies could incorporate, not just from the academy standpoint, but holistically across the region?
I think, like, to answer your question, Kieran, the talent pool is less, to be honest, in New Zealand.
Wow.
Because it's a if you think of a professional era, that New Zealand, we had 116 professional cricketers, and only 20 of them were full time. So all the first class cricketers are on 7-month contracts. So there's a bit of a difference. The difference there is that every dollar that is spent on a player, the investment that goes on is very targeted. So we had a really good, strong talent identification process, right, that just not relied on the technical or a tactical or a physical skills. It go into their coachability, their mental resilience, and their how they perform under pressure. All that has been really considered when we picked a player, and when we do pick that player, after probably maybe 5 to 10 minds are working on to get a very good assessment on this player, and then when you get a player, we give a long rope. So it's not a short one, because we all understand there's a big difference in anywhere in the world between domestic cricket and international cricket. Yeah. So that's why our identification process has to be spot on. Yeah. And we need players who wants to get better every day. So that's where one of the strengths of the system, and also if you think of everyone's purpose in New Zealand cricket is to make from their territory, like we call it the major associations there, which is 6, major association. So from a under 17 program of a major association to a professional program, everyone's objective is to produce black caps and white ferns.
Right.
So it is a very aligned system to do the job what's best for New Zealand cricket, while there is a regional rivalry of the competition, who wins the domestic tournaments. But at the end, you as a coach, you as a province, is measured on how many black caps, how many white ferns that your environment has been able to produce over the how many titles, how many Plunkett Shield, or how many Ford Trophy or Super Smash you've won. So that is the thinking, and also the high performance objective is learning and development.
Right.
So everything, as you very well know, I think it's publicized in media that when New Zealand got bowled out for 45 in South Africa in 2013, that's where they started to change things around and bring in, like, you're going to be measured on your processes on learning and development. So that's where it all came over winning series or championships. That's where the whole focus changed. And so like with West Indies Academy, Kieran, again, very focused on learning and development, and getting players, like stretching players to levels that they have not been before. In terms of some of those conversations that when we started the academy, players weren't ready to be challenged, to be honest, because I guess that's the mindset here. So from the academy, what we've been doing is changing that mindset. And when we change mindset, and when people become more open to getting challenged and improve their growth mindset as a cricketer and their coachability, I think we can make really good progress. And that's what you've probably seen in the academy, how these boys from the start in October to now in August, how they have grown, and there's been a lot of international selections and really good performances on the park as well. So I guess we are tracking in the right direction. But at the moment, as you know, the senior team have had some tough losses. So now everyone would try to point finger at everything. That's normal. That's normal. And as someone who works in the system, I also think that, what I could have done to help, so I believe everyone, like, who's in the system is taking some sort of a responsibility of what is going on, because we are all part of one system. So but I can assure you, as you said, there are things that we are trying here to implement, and some of the things are new to the Caribbean. So that means there's a lot of convincing needs to happen for something to be implemented. So that does take a little bit more time than normal. So but we are putting the right things in place, I can assure you that.
So to piggyback off of that then, because obviously we understand that the current structure is broken. In your opinion, what is a high performance environment, and sort of what time frame should be allowed for this sort of cultural reset be allowed for this sort of cultural reset to take place? Because obviously this is something that has to go not just across the senior team, but more importantly across the up and coming age groups.
So, like, as I said, you always go back to what is your strategic objective as an organization. So and if everyone from from like, I know West Indies, we start from under 15 regional cricket. So if everyone's working towards that strategic objective, that's one aligned system. That is part of really high performance, and we're having a very good strategic vision and a plan to execute that vision. So those are the important thing, and then changing mindset. So for me, high performance starts with you. So high performance is, for me, in my belief, is a mindset.
Yep.
So it's like sometimes people think high performance with the professionalism, the ground facilities, and the money you get. But you could create a high performance environment wherever you are, if you know what you're working towards and how to get there. So like, I know, like, for example, a lot of people, I've heard it, like, talking about, I've even seen one of the ex-players have spoken, or you guys spoke about it, that he doesn't have facilities to train.
Yeah.
Right. So, but if I think, okay, what can you do? If you have the right mindset, what can you do to go and get your bowling done? Right. So could you go to a local club and get your 25 overs or 30 overs that you can do? You can get that. Right. So it's about looking at you. Okay, high performance. What is my mindset here? Right. So we have to, like, if you think about it, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the local expert. There's probably 14 countries feed into the system who plays cricket.
Give or take.
Yeah. So I mean, it's unrealistic for us to think that everyone would have a state-of-the-art facility, right? No countries are divided by water, right? But as plays as one team. So there are challenges. So that's why the mindset of our people has to improve towards to problem solve with what we have, and how we can make the best use of what we have to get better, rather than looking externally. Start looking internally and think, okay, how can I be better? How can I help the team better? So how can I find the time? Who can I speak to get some information? All that is available here. But it's like, it's very hard sometimes. I've seen a lot of podcasts and a lot of things talk about, oh, we don't have this facility, we don't have this, and we don't have that. We're not going to have that, right? West Indies, as you know, like, as I've proudly watched how these guys were doing when they were at their best, right? They still didn't have all those facilities. Yes, but the world has caught up on like, the high performance systems, in terms of putting structures, putting a lot of resources. But we have to find ways within our means. How can we be the best we could be, right? So that's where that my mindset is at, and that's what I talk to our academy players on, especially, or anyone that I speak to. How can you create a high performance environment in where you are? So that's kind of like the mindset, I would say. I know I'm going on about it a little bit more.
I understand what you're saying. I just think, sorry to interrupt you. I just think that, like, obviously you talk about mindset from a high performance perspective and how you go about it. But how would you go about it if you physically have a technical flaw with your batting, for instance, and you need some, it's outside of mindset, that's guidance, and that's having somewhere you can work on something to do with your bat pickup, or whether you trigger movement or something. How do you work with that if you don't have the facility to be able to go and actually practice hitting balls or working on that fine tweaking of the technique, which you talked about, making that step to international cricket, for instance?
Yeah. I like, that's a good question. Like, I mean, I think we do have some sort of a facility, right? We do have some sort of a facility to do that.
Right.
For example, like let's say someone's trying to work on his action. Does he need a proper state of the art facility? or does he need a concrete or wherever that he can go and bowl to, or someone with a mitt on the other hand with two stumps to work on? Because like even like, to do something technically, yes, it's really helpful that if we have the facility, but if we don't, how can we still do it? But also the people who are guiding, who are mentoring is important.
Yeah.
Right. So and are we going to only problem solving with technique, or can we also think about a way that, okay, this player is really strong in this area,
yeah,
but then there is a technical fault. So how can we help that player to be smarter around the areas that he could be exposed? So that is a different way of thinking as well. We don't have to always go to problem solve with technique.
Yeah.
Right. We have to help them to problem solve with the skill sets they've got. Now, you've seen good examples in England, like you've seen Alistair Cook, for example, who scored so many test runs. But was he like, I have never seen him like, play a cover drive or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So there are so many players, like you've seen Graham Smith in world cricket. Have you seen him playing on the offside? Because he's smarter.
Yeah.
In those areas. So like what you're saying, I agree that, look, we have to have facilities, but also I'm also thinking, how can we, with what we have, that still we can help people?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know whether that answers your question, Jordan, but just a different perspective.
I understand what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt you there with Kai. I know you was going.
No, I was trying to get to a point here, but I think off of the back of what you're saying there now, I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that your scope of work should actually be wider. You should have a wider remit, because ultimately it should be a case where the head coach of the senior team says to you, I need players having XYZ skill sets, because ultimately you're preparing players to go to hopefully the top level. And then you, as the academy director, in my opinion, should be the head of pathway cricket. So it should be then you feeding down to, we start at the under 15s level. So you're supposed to be feeding down to, okay, I need top under 15 players to be able to do X. By the time they get to 17s, Y, 19s, Z, so that then my life becomes easier and it's a smooth progression into the international structure, as opposed to guys just playing free willy at this point in time until they get to you. And then you have to, I guess, incorporate them into structure and waste a lot of time doing basic things that should have been incorporated into their games from a much younger age. What do you think of that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Like, it again comes down to what is our strategic objective.
Yeah.
So when you look at when I look at age groups in West Indies, that I have seen that people play just to win the tournament. So I mean, everyone plays to win, but the development of players takes a backseat over winning.
Okay.
So that's something that we are trying to address, because I believe here still in the system, coaches are measured on how many games they win, not the best learning environment that these coaches are creating within them.
Yeah.
So and then the coaches unfortunately are under pressure. So you might have someone who just bowls with really lovely shape as a spinner, but then, or you might have someone who just darts the ball wicket to wicket. So then to get the job done, to win the game, the coach might opt for this guy just to dart straight balls over the guy who has lovely shape, that might still not got the perfect consistency. But that's where that we got to be thinking. Like, if you're right, that we are at the moment, I have identified what are in terms of the skills that you need. right? So from there, like at an under 15 level, from an under 17 level, under 19 level to academy, which is actually professional cricket, and then into A team and beyond. So we are at the moment working on our talent IDing structure with senior talent managers involved in this, with the director of cricket, that what are the skill sets that are required to be successful at the highest level, and how can we have a periodic like plan to get players there. So like for example, if you think of an opening batsman in Test cricket, you should be able to play very well off the back foot, right? And you should be able to bat like present the straight blade. You have to be really good at playing straight as an opening batter, and to handle the short ball really well. So those type of skills, we have identified them. Now it's a plan from under 17, under 19 to academy to senior level. How can we build those? Like so we don't get found out, okay, we can't play off the back foot, or we can't play the short ball at the highest level.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to be targeted with whoever the player that we want to give those opportunities to. So if we have a 3 to 4 year plan on each player, then we can actually build that. So the player goes to the top. He has the skills, but it'll still take probably maybe 2 years to get settled into the role. Yeah. However, he has the skills.
Yeah. It's just for him to figure out international cricket.
Yes. So it will take 2 years, right? You very well know this, right? Yeah. But now he has the skills. So your decision making and execution is where now you're getting tested at the highest level. But if we can build the system, that's what we are trying to do at the academy, that players are equipped with the necessary skills to be successful, but it'll still take them 2 years to learn. But I really like what you're saying, Kieran, that if we can have okay, these are the fundamental skills we want at this level, and under 17 level, under 19 level, and also finding a way that what are our strengths, right? So it's important that we also look at some of the characteristics of West Indian cricketers.
Yeah.
Right. So West Indian cricketers, if they're properly trained, and if they're properly, in a really good physical like the natural physical capacity of a West Indian. I've worked in 3 systems. I've worked in England, I've worked in New Zealand, and in Sri Lanka. That's like 10 years in a gym. That the natural attributes that the West Indian players have.
Yeah.
So like the guys that we can bowl faster than anyone in the world collectively, if we get that right. We can hit the ball as hard as anyone in the world. So there needs to be what is our uniqueness as well. So we need to find that in our system, right? So West Indies were known to play a brand of cricket that inspired the whole world.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone watched cricket because they played that brand. So we need to find that. What is our brand as well? And from younger age, this is what we can do. And this is our brand of cricket. Right. So we need to find those things, Kieran, but I love the idea, what you're proposing, that, and I can tell you that we are working on it as of now. Yeah.
Love to hear that. In terms of, I guess, this current batch now of players that you have, I don't want to single out anyone, but, holistically, there's been some improvement you could see based on, I guess, the last series you guys would have played against the Sri Lanka Academy. A lot of things that you'd have probably tried to put in place from since last year starting to come into effect now for a lot of these guys that may not have had the successes that they wanted during the regional season, but just through time, exposure, consistency, etc., it's starting to come together for a lot of the players now. what happens to these guys when they age out of the academy, with so much time and effort being invested into them in terms of getting into regional setups now? Because obviously that's not a given.
Yeah, so you're right. The Sri Lanka series was a really good, like to see. I was really happy to see the growth of our cricketers who we played a very experienced Sri Lankan unit as well. And the way how our boys played cricket, we played in a very West Indian way in that series. Our fast bowlers were aggressive and relentless. To be honest, at Sri Lankan batters, if you've seen any cricket, you would have seen their physio probably were there most of the time on the field. So and then the way our guys handle their spin attack, which we are not known for in terms of the different pockets that we were hitting the ball,
Yeah,
was quite challenging for the Sri Lankan players. That after the series, when we had a debriefs with the coaches over a beer, they always talked about, like, okay, we never expected West Indies to hit behind square for our spinners, and we never had one LBW of a spinner who's trying to defend. So all that, like, it is kind of what we worked for the tour purposely, and also the work we've been doing from the start.
Yeah.
But going into what you've asked around your question, that I like to think that we're going to release a player that we know he's ready to be dominating in franchise cricket. So not like and develop the skills that I talked about, develop our skills of our players into world-class level, right? Not so if we can do that, if we always aim higher than what we're going to play, we train higher, then the level becomes easier. So you would have heard people say, train hard, play easy. So what we're trying to do is to keep players in the academy for a bit longer than usual, because we got to remember the academy purpose as of now is to it's like a bridging gap between under 19 and first class cricket, and also to help to grow cricketers to play franchise cricket. So it's not necessarily that you have the best young players in the academy.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of people often get this wrong in terms of their thinking. They do feel that the best young talent he's here in the academy. No, some of them are already playing first class cricket in franchises.
Yeah.
So of a younger age. So what we have is, like, there are some really good talented players, and they're all working hard. I can guarantee you that. So, but going back to your question is that how, like, we are trying to keep our players in the academy, get them as close to international cricket to be successful there. So that is that skill development aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then that is the time that I believe that then that player can transition into a franchise. So not having a one good season and then go away.
Yeah.
Like with our domestic cricket, I think one season is not probably a really good measurement.
No.
So I'd say we need to look at 3 to 4 years of consistent performances and skill development. So then that's where I think we have a better idea of the player, because as you know this in international cricket, but even in first class cricket, it's the same. First year, yeah, it is difficult, but it could be easier than your second year, because the second year, all the other teams would know what to do with you. So how could you be a step ahead? Now, what actually wobbled me in this season? How can I work on that? Because they are going to expose me on that. But how can I be in front of that?
Yeah.
So those are the conversations that these days, at the moment, what we are training, what we are doing. the areas that we identified, okay, this area needs growth. So, but sometimes some areas weren't even exposed in some of our players. But then we know if we are thinking of long term for this player, these skills has to be developed. So that's where that I talked earlier, that we have to take players out of their comfort zone and broaden their boundaries to get there. So that's what we're trying to do with the academy. And I like to keep them, if they're in our succession plan of West Indies cricket, in our depth charts, I would love to keep him as much as we can to help them to develop.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with you there. I think we're running out of time now, but I think I've been doing a lot of thought on this actually from since last night when we spoke to now. And what I'd actually like to see is in collaboration with the governments, there's so many grounds in so many different islands. If each country can suggest to the West Indies board, we would give you access to this particular facility, and the West Indies board could just put down some nets that would allow, different pathway programs to operate out of those facilities. You're not looking at, as you said, state of the art, world class facilities. You're just putting down some nets so that you can run basic cricket coaching structures and programs. I think that will go a long way, because then you can have under 15 programs in each territory, 17s, 19s, and that would help you to then start putting together plans for, as we discussed, basic skill sets at the different stages and age groups, and make West Indies cricket a lot more streamlined. So, no, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah,
just adding into that is that, Kieran, we got to identify, what's the difference between development and performance.
Yes.
Right. So I've heard a lot of podcasts, a lot of articles around, we need to improve the grassroots game. So grassroots development cricket is increased participation, and performance cricket is make your cream the best they could be. Right. So at the moment we need to have getting a really good grassroots structure that feeds players, a lot of players, so that our mass is bigger. So we're going to hopefully get more cream coming to the top.
Yeah.
That is probably quite a long-term solution to get everything ready, as you know, to get the governments and all that. But also we need to have short-term solutions to make us performing at international cricket.
Yeah.
So we got to look at two options. We got to look at a short-term. Okay, this is how we can compete at international cricket. How can we make our better players better, or to world-class level, and while building a grassroots structure. Because I think now, from what I've been seeing, I've worked a lot in development cricket of New Zealand as well. So I think West Indies, we believe that the talent is going to come. So I think our focus now has to be, we actually have to sell the game.
Yes.
And performance.
Yeah.
So we need to have a clear idea what we're doing here. So improving grassroots programs and getting a really proper infrastructure in place might take, let's say, 5 years, if we'll be realistic. Also don't forget, it's probably 14 countries.
Yeah.
So but then also in the same time, we are working on a strategy at the moment to make our best players world class by exposing them into different training environments, getting them together.
Yeah.
And putting a structure in place at the moment. We are definitely thinking short term. We have to think long term and short term, because we have to be a a nation in international cricket that is going to compete and that's going to win. So what we can do short term, and most of the plans that are coming through at the moment from listening to a lot of people is around that long term. So which is important. But then also the short term is very important to accelerate our players' development.
Yeah.
I think from, just to touch on that point quickly, I think the difficulty in that is obviously the cricketing landscape now, where players are either off at some franchise league or playing in multiple formats. So it's not like before, where players have enough or as much time to work on their game outside of cricket. So in a short-term sense, it's going to have to be a situation where you have a lot of technical staff on tour that can sort of tweak and mold things during a series, or during a T20 transitioning into a test series, and that sort of stuff, as opposed to the old ways of guys coming back and having a month or 2 weeks or whatever the case is. Because as you know, like the cricketing calendars, you look at the West Indies, for example, it's crammed until the end of the T20 World Cup next year, with guys chopping and changing formats. So it's very difficult to attain any level of consistency.
Yeah, I think it's also like, if you think about it, that you're right, like an international cricketer that you have to learn on the job.
Yeah.
But then how can we structure that? There is moments that if you're working something technically, even on a tour, can we have 1 hour on that? So your focus is not performance, your focus is around learning.
Yes.
Right. So there are times, I'm sure there are times in a calendar, in even during tour, that you can find that. So you're not measuring yourself on like how you're hitting the ball or anything. It's about the process that you're working on, like technically. So it's about having a clear difference between what is learning and what is performance training. So that's the other way that we can definitely look for. So you're right. There's no time to do like a big remediation or stuff like that in for an international cricketer. So also going back to what I was saying to you, that's where we need to help them to be smarter.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the thing. I know. I mean, that you're not going to learn your technique at that level. So you're going to learn your technique at academy or before, ideally.
Yeah.
But academy is probably should be the finishing school for a player. So and then it's about maintaining your skill, and then slowly, like identifying areas that you need to be really good at, and then slowly developing them as well while you are still in the team.
Yeah.
Well, as I was saying, thank you for joining us. I think the future of West Indies cricket are in your hands. A lot of pressure, as you know. There's no shortage of armchair critics across the region, but very level-headed. Always a good person to talk to from my experiences dealing with you so far. And I wish you all the best. Like it's a fun situation to be in, because personally, I think dealing with the young players and players that are hungry, aspirational to get to the highest level is always a good place to be. So you learn a lot. You get a lot of reward from being able to see the overall growth of those players. So I wish you even more continued success. You've had a few selections already, so hopefully those guys can go on and start becoming staples in the team, and the other guys can join them eventually.
Thanks for having me, guys. Always happy to talk.
No, we really appreciate you taking your time. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. Keep liking, keep subscribing, and thank you very much. Speak to you all soon.